For years, there's been a quiet narrative online that Black people are the top consumers. That framing misses the real story, because the truth is, Black communities aren't just consumers. They are cultural drivers. Music, fashion, language, style, entire industries move after Black creativity does. The real question isn't why Black people consume. It's why Black influence is so easily turned into profit, often without ownership. When power was denied, historically, Black communities were locked out of traditional forms of power: land ownership, institutional wealth, corporate control. So, status had to be expressed differently through clothing, cars, music, appearance, brands. Consumption became a visible language of success, not because of vanity, but because visibility was one of the few currencies available. When you can't control the system, you control how you're seen inside it. That psychological wiring doesn't disappear in one generation. Cultural influence without control. Black culture shapes trends faster than almost any other group. But often, the culture is created by Black people. The brands are owned by someone else. The profit flows outward. So what happens psychologically? Influence turns into consumption. Expression turns into purchasing. Ownership gets replaced by participation. You end up buying into your own culture instead of owning it. The need to be seen. There's another layer people don't talk about. Black people are often more visible, more judged, and more stereotyped. That creates pressure to look successful, to look respectable, to not confirm assumptions. Spending becomes defensive, not indulgent. It's not about flexing. It's about control over perception. Scarcity changes the brain. When communities experience instability over generations, the brain adapts. Psychologists call this present bias, which means prioritizing now over later, enjoying what's available, and spending when opportunity appears. If tomorrow isn't guaranteed, the brain values today more. That behavior gets mislabeled as irresponsibility, but it's rooted in survival psychology. Brands understand this deeply. Black consumers are heavily targeted not only with products, but with identity. When a product is wrapped in identity, refusing it can feel like rejecting part of yourself. So no, this isn't about Black people being bad with money. It's about being cultural producers without proportional ownership, in systems that monetize identity faster than they return value. Consumption fills the gap where ownership should be. The real evolution isn't spending less. It's owning platforms, owning brands, owning infrastructure, owning distribution. When culture comes with control, consumption stops being the main outlet. Consumption doesn't just signal success, it can temporarily soothe insecurity. When society repeatedly sends the message that your value is questioned, limited, or conditional, the brain looks for ways to regain control. Buying something new offers a brief sense of certainty. Psychologically, this is known as symbolic self-completion. When identity feels incomplete or threatened, people use symbols, clothing, brands, status items to restore a sense of wholeness. It's not about the object, it's about what the object represents. Confidence, belonging, protection, respect. But the relief is temporary. So the cycle repeats. The brain is trying to regulate stress in a system that never fully relaxes. And when an entire culture is constantly watched, that pressure becomes collective. Over time, spending stops being a choice and becomes a coping mechanism. This is why the conversation around consumption is often misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like excess. From the inside, it feels like survival. Add to this the fact that many financial systems were never designed with long-term security in mind for marginalized communities, and the focus naturally shifts toward visible wins rather than invisible assets. What you can see matters more than what you can't. A brand you wear is immediate. An investment account is abstract. Ownership feels distant when access historically was. We don't form our relationship with money in isolation. We inherit it. Children don't just learn finances from numbers or advice. They learn from what they see. Over time, consumption becomes normalized as proof of progress. This isn't unique to Black communities, but when opportunities for quiet wealth building were historically restricted, visible success carried more weight. You can't see a pension. You can see a car. You can't see equity, but can see a flashy watch. So what gets reinforced? What's visible? Psychologists call this social proof. We copy behaviors that appear to work for others, especially those we identify with. If the people who made it are rewarded for appearance rather than ownership, the lesson becomes clear. This is how success looks. And once a behavior is normalized culturally, questioning it can feel like betrayal. It can feel like distancing yourself from your very own people. That's why conversations about spending often trigger defensiveness. So the pressure isn't just internal, almost, always. It's systemic. A constant reminder of how success is expected to look. And when people say, why not just invest instead? They're missing something crucial. You can't display patience. You can't post delayed gratification.